The voice of the drum calls. It sings a song of those who came before us and those to come. A song of survival and strength. A song of participation and voice. A song that calls us together. When we come together and participate in the 2010 census, we use this tool as the voice of all our Native people. Our voice. It is in our hands. 2010 census.
Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, April 28th. I'm your host for today's program again, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Federal Justice Department says it has reached an agreement with South Dakota's Shannon County to help American Indian voters. The agreement requires the county to provide election materials and information in Lakota for voters who speak that language and to have trained bilingual election officials at polling sites. The agreement also ensures compliance with various other provisions of the Help America Vote Act, which is aimed at helping minority voters in jurisdictions determined by the Census Bureau to have a substantial population of minority language residents. Shannon County includes much of the Pine Ridge Reservation. 4 of the 5 county commissioners are members of the Oglala Sioux tribe. United Tribes Technical College has created a fellowship program named for its president to help develop American Indian leaders. The Bismarck School says the program will award fellowships to students who exhibit significant leadership qualities and meet certain conditions such as good grades and work experience. Their goals must be related to the betterment of an Indian tribe or community. Students accepted by the David M. Gipp Native American Leaders Fellowship Program will receive professional and personal skill development and a stipend to help with educational expenses. Nevada will get $5.1 million in USDA funding for clean water projects in the state, including one for the Urington Paiute Tribe's Campbell Ranch Reservation. The Tribal Council has worked with federal agencies on funding of the project, including more than $587,000 from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, $228,000 from the Indian Health Service, and more than $1.16 million from the U.S. Department of Agricultural Rural Development. The Chickasaw Nation and the National Park Service are negotiating for the tribe to begin managing the Chickasaw National Recreation Area. Tribal administrator of the Division of Self-Governance says the Chickasaw have a historic relationship with the area in southern Oklahoma. Administrator Tom Johns adds that the negotiations are not for tribal ownership of the area. Recreation Area Superintendent Bruce Noble says tribal management is only a possibility. He says the discussions are too early to know what may occur. John says the tribe's plans would be to expand existing historic, cultural, and recreational activities. The area is in the Arbuckle Mountains and includes streams, lakes, springs, and valleys, and offers boating, fishing, hunting, and camping experiences. And lastly, we have our colleague Mark Trahant with some ideas about where Indian country should be putting some focus with the recent passage of the IHS Health Care Improvement Act as part of the larger package of Obama health care initiatives.
Good afternoon, Mark Trahant. We're continuing our conversations about health care and its impact on Indian country. We haven't had you for a little while, but tell us a little bit about this idea that Indian country ought to get ready for the potential of creating jobs off of this new health care legislation.
Well, I use the line that it's really simple math that health care equals jobs. I mean, it really is pronounced. Over the next 10 years, we could essentially double the size of the workforce related to Indian health. So that means we've got to get folks into colleges, into nursing programs, doctors programs. But I think broader areas like administrators, ethicists, I think there ought to be some great opportunities there. Dietitians, you can kind of go down the list of the potential.
My understanding is there's quite a bit of money for construction as well provided in this bill. Did you get any looks at the figures on that?
Yeah, but it's important to remember that this is just authorizing legislation. So now you've got to go through and actually get an appropriation for all those projects. And so there's another step to go before the numbers will be final.
When you talk about job creations, you're not just looking at what's going to be created in Indian country as an opportunity. For someone in Tampa, Florida, a Native American living in Tampa, Florida that comes from Blackfeet Reservation.
Right.
Off and on reservation opportunity.
It's definitely both. The Indian Health Service will have more positions. Right now, there are about 1,000 vacancies, a little more than 1,000 vacancies in the IHS, ranging from physicians to CHRs. That number will expand. And one of the things that I think is really significant is perhaps the most important field will be licensed practical nurses. LPNs are essentially going to be the front line for most intake in medical. So instead of seeing a doctor, you're probably going to see an LPN. And so having a workforce that fits that. IHS is wonderfully, it's a high percentage of natives now. But with this opportunity, if we can get young people into schools, we could increase that percentage and grow numbers. And these are jobs on reservations where you can live where you want.
We're going to get back and talk to you about this issue a little bit more as it goes along. You're writing a book. Tell us just a tiny little bit about that, the title and when you think it's going to be out.
The title is The Last Great Battle of the Indian Wars, the campaign, Henry Jackson and Forrest Gerard's campaign for self-determination. And it's about the story of the end of termination, particularly in Wisconsin, and the launch of the self-determination bills in Congress, Indian Self-Determination Education Assistance Act, Indian Finance Act, Indian Healthcare Improvement Act. It was this golden age where Congress was acting in the best interests of Indian country.
The Navajo Nation took this Monday off, Sovereignty Day, because they can. Is that in the book?
No, but it should be. In fact, I had to laugh. Somebody on Sovereignty Day posted my exchange with George Bush as proof of Sovereignty Day.
Okay, we'll have to take a look at that. That's a good laugh in retrospect. So,
right.
Thanks for joining with us again, Mark. We'll do it again soon.
Very good.
And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Thank you for joining with us. Come back again soon. Yeah, that's a lot better. 1 millimeter.